Give this a like and stay until the very end to get all the details of the life of Felix Mendelssohn. Subscribe and click the bell for more music history, composer facts, and string instrument care. We have a whole music history series coming out, so subscribe and click the bell. You don't want to miss a post. Felix Mendelssohn was a German composer, pianist, organist, and conductor of the early Romantic period. Mendelssohn's compositions include symphonies, concertos, piano music, organ music, and chamber music. He was born Jakob Ludwig Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy in Hamburg, Germany on February 3, 1809. Felix Mendelssohn was a renowned composer, conductor, pianist, and teacher who lived between 1809 and 1847. He was one of the most well-known musicians in the early Romantic period. He also loved classical models and used them in his own music. He was born to Jewish parents who were Christian pianists. They took him through his first piano lessons and set the ball rolling. A lot happened during his short career. So number one, he was a rich kid. Mendelssohn was born into a wealthy family. His wealth meant that he did not have many issues to deal with as he moved up his career ladder. This was a deep contrast with ideals of Romanticism, which appealed to those members of society who were suffering, also known as starving artist syndrome, where the more pain you feel, the more exciting and powerful your music gets. However, Felix was able to fit the bill and wear the romantic cloak without any issues. Historians are divided on how he could blend so well with a new style that was against the nobles and elites. It is in the style, in Romantic style, that he made his most famous compositions. Number two, he was the Queen's favorite musician. In her words, Queen Victoria described Mendelssohn as the greatest musical genius that ever lived since Mozart. She also described him as the most amiable man she has ever met, so very friendly. The Queen considered him as someone who was worshipped by those who knew him intimately and said that she personally admired and appreciated his beautiful compositions. The Queen also described the musician as excellent and revered, a wonderful genius, and one with a great mind, although he had a frail body. Despite all this, the Queen said the musician was simple and modest. Number three, Felix wore a coat of many colors. Mendelssohn's family was predominantly made up of many artists and musicians who excelled in different art forms. The young Felix was a talented child prodigy who excelled at many different types of art, such as linguistics, athletics, poetry, and painting, among other things. During his young days, Felix excelled in most of the aforementioned areas. However, his true passion was the performing arts, which he pursued with dedication. Unfortunately, his exploits in other fields were not well documented, so there is little that is available as reference. He led a clean, composed life. During the era, most musicians led carefree lives even today. They would often waste away on alcohol and prostitution. Quite a few come to mind at the top of my head: Mozart, Paganini, Beethoven, Mussorgsky, Tchaikovsky. This was not the case with Felix Mendelssohn. He was composed and led a straight, clean way of living. Felix got married to Cécile Charlotte Sophie Jean Reynaud, a daughter of a French priest, in 1837. The couple had 3 children and lived a somewhat uneventful family life. This couple had a short-lived marriage described as happy and peaceful. Cécile died within a year of his demise. My theory is that she had broken heart syndrome, also known as stress-induced cardiomyopathy or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It can strike even when you're healthy. He reignited interest in Bach's music. The rumor is, if it weren't for Mendelssohn, we would not know Bach today. At the age of 22, Felix Mendelssohn organized a concert that included the performance of Bach's Saint Matthew Passion. This piece had not been performed since the composer's death in 1750. His performance was a huge success, and the good news spread across the country. He even got requests to perform the song several other times in his career. Many historians believe that this was the beginning of the resurgence of interest in Bach's compositions. The fact that Felix led the way in playing the music also inspired other musicians to do the same, further increasing the awareness of Bach's works. Bach was a renowned musician of the later Baroque period and an inspiration to many composers over the centuries. Subscribe and click the bell to get more fun composer facts on J.S. Bach's life, coming really soon. Young Felix did not follow all the Jewish traditions. At a young age, Felix did not undergo the traditional Jewish rites of passage, such as circumcision, as any other Jewish boy would do. This was because his father had already denounced the faith. At this time, The father added Ludwig and Jakob as forenames to his name. However, the musician did not use them at any point. Felix's sister Fanny once wrote to her brother that the family did not like Bartholdi's name added to his official name. That is why he always was known and is known as Felix Mendelssohn in all his official correspondence. Fanny was also a very interesting individual and talented composer, so subscribe for her life coming out also. Mendelssohn is said to have visited Great Britain a record 10 times. His favorite locations were the islands off the coast of Scotland. He also made music based on some trips he made to Staffa, which is the island off Mull, and is home to the Fingal's Cave. The other location he wrote a song about was the Hebrides group of islands, located in the north of Scotland. Both locations helped him to make the Hebrides Overture the great composition it was. In a letter, Felix said that these trips affected his outlook on life and raised his general morale for traveling. Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach inspired Mendelssohn. Felix's interests in music composition started at the tender age of 12. He is believed that he had already created over 12 string symphonies by the time he was 14 years old. Most of the symphonies were inspired by Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach. The young musician continued to refine his art through his youth, culminating the performance of Bach's St. Matthew Passion. He used to play the songs of the three great musicians when practicing with his piano and other instruments at home under the guidance of his parents. Anti-Semitism dulled his star. There was a strong anti-Semitism that spread across European countries during the period, and the Jewish people lost opportunities to expand. Those who had already made their money continued to live well but could not progress in the hostile society. This predicament may have stalled Felix's career at some point in his midlife. On the other hand, historians believe that there was a revolution in music, with many people accepting later styles of Romanticism rather than a mix of classical and romantic music. Fortunately, people got to appreciate his music later in the 20th century. He foresaw his own death. Mendelssohn suffered from ill health during the final years of his life. The music tours and visits across England and Scotland left him exhausted and ill. Without the medical interventions available today, he had gradually become frail. He suffered a series of strokes, recovering from each of them until the last one that killed him at the age of 38. Interestingly, he had somehow foreseen his death beforehand. Before his death in Leipzig, Germany on November 4th, 1847, he described death as a place where he hoped there would be music, no sorrow, and he would not have to part with the people he loved. He died not long after making the statement. Subscribe and click the bell for more music history and string instrument care. Sign up to our newsletter linked below to make sure you never miss a post. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.